Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast, your top automotive refinishing podcast with your hosts, Corey Kleinfeld
and Ryan Brewer. Enjoy the show, everyone.
Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast. Today on the podcast, we have Riley Nowak. Those of you that have ever trained in RestorFX know that name. He is Ryan said, the main guy, the guy at Bellingham. He is technically the general manager of the Bellingham location and the head trainer for RestorFX International. He's here going to tell us how RestorFX used to be, how it is now, and where it's going. What's up, Riley?
How you guys doing?
Very good. Very good. We've been thinking about getting you on for a while, and we finally have made that happen.
Yeah, I think that this will be the most listened to podcast that we have for sure.
Yeah. So, again, all the guys that have been to training in the last, I don't know how many years you've been doing head training for them. More than 3.5. I know that.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably been about 6 years now.
Yeah. So pretty much everybody that we know that listens to this podcast, for the majority, has been trained by Riley, essentially. I know the growth for RestorFX is significantly increased over the last 6 to 7 years. And so there's a few centers out there that didn't get trained from you, I would assume, but not too many. Not too many. So tell us how, I always like to start from the beginning. How did you find yourself working at RestorFX? It's been over 10 years now, right? How long has it been?
Yeah. So I started in 2014. I started just as a prep tech. I was working at a detail shop at a automotive auction, and just, started that out of high school, got a job and started working with that. And then just decided that I wanted to kind of move and start something new for myself. So I kind of looked through, job offerings and this and that. And I knew of Bellingham because my brother went to college here. So I knew about the area and was kind of just searching around and saw the ClearFX at the time on Indeed. And, I applied there, and as soon as they hit me back, I got an interview and drove over here and went to the interview and got the job the next day. And I needed to figure out how the hell to move to Bellingham. So
Where were you living?
I was in Spokane, so Eastern Washington.
Okay. But still, it's 2-3 hours?
Yeah, 5 or 6.
Yeah. 5 or 6. Okay, 5 or 6 hours. Okay. I was trying to do it off the top of my head.
When you first started, who was training you? Was it Alex or Nick?
Yeah, so when I first started, Nick and Alex were heavily involved, and then also Brandon Dahlman, which is Nick's cousin, was involved at the time as well. And we all kind of came into it, and the product was all brand new. There wasn't really any sort of training or anything in place at that time. So I started as a prep tech, learned how to prep the vehicles for the application, and then slowly learned the application through just watching it. There wasn't any training in that, that process during that time. So it was kind of just like, here's what we got, figure it out. So, a lot of the stuff that I implement in training is from what I've learned throughout that time, where it was kind of just handed to me to learn it and figure it out and kind of,
Organize the training, right?
Create the plan.
Right. So, so I started as that and worked my way up. And then within a couple months, I was doing the application. I can't say it was the best application that was going on at the time, but learning it. And after that, a few months went by and slowly got more and more comfortable with it, just learning the process and everything. And then from there, it kind of started to develop internationally a little bit. And that's when they started to bring on our training kind of process. So that was all kind of established before I actually started training myself. But, it was a lot of troubleshooting and learning my way as we were going. So it actually is beneficial now that I see it, when I do training, because it's like, anything that you guys
You've
are going
seen
to run
all
into,
the problems. Yeah.
I've already gone
Yeah.
through.
I mean, you told us that 3 years ago, so imagine 3 more years on top of that. You told us that shit. That's true, though. I feel like that's true.
What about the product, like the actual? Sometimes we might lose Corey here and there because of his internet, but he'll jump back on. The product, like the RestorFX product itself, has it been the same from when you started to now, or has that like changed the formula and the consistency or whatnot with RestorFX?
Yeah, so the formula has actually changed a little bit. When I first started, the product ratio was a bit different. It was an 8-to-1 ratio, where now it's a 1-to-1 ratio, which makes it, much easier to deal with. I can't say that the ratio made the product like any different or super beneficial or anything. But I think that with that change in product, we got a little bit of ease of use. Also, we implemented some new steps as far as the prep procedures, and kind of went through all that stuff. And so the biggest thing that's changed throughout the years that I've been here is the prep procedures. Because obviously, coming down to anything with paint, it's all in the prep. So,
Right.
Almost 85-90% of your work is in the prep work. And then the final product, the RestorFX, is the finished result. So although the application is kind of the tough one to understand and get down, because it's all weird hand movements and all this stuff that you got to kind of figure out. It's kind of a weird deal at first, but once you get used to it, you end up finding that that's the easier part and it's more fun and this and that. But the prep work is everything. I mean, if you got somebody that comes in that doesn't prep the car right, you're never going to get the results that you want. So,
well, I've always compared RestorFX to, like, I've painted cars for most of my life, and it was the same way. Like, if you didn't prep the car 100%, one, it would probably peel, or you'd have a bunch of trash in it, right? It's the same thing that goes along with the RestorFX stuff. So that's why I was able to gravitate and catch everything a lot faster, because of my past with painting cars. But same thing, like a lot of people, my guys still trying to get 4 years from now is like, the prep is everything, so that's good.
Yeah. Can you hear me again?
You're back. Yeah, you're back, Corey.
Welcome.
Nice. So I asked him about the consistency of RestorFX as far as, is the product the same as it was in the beginning when he started to now? And he said it's changed a little bit, right? Like the mix ratios and stuff like that changed to make it easy to install. So that's where we left off.
I'm very thankful that my guys realized how important the prep work is, honestly, because I had no clue. But there was times, being a business owner, I tried to get him to do more faster, or like, hey, how can we do this? And he's like, I'm at the max here, because like the prep work, like I could do a car technically, apply the product, but it's just not going to look good down the road. So he held his ground on that. But it's now that I know more about the product myself too, it's definitely that matters. And I don't think I realized until a year or two into it how similar it is to paint, or to clear coat, at least. It's just hand applied instead of aerosol. That's it. I mean, really, essentially.
Right.
Yep. You guys hear me good now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's super important. What's the biggest thing? And maybe you said you did, besides the mix ratios and stuff, what's the biggest thing that's changed since 2014 to now with the company itself?
I mean, there's been a lot of different little changes here and there.
Yeah.
At first, with the kind of franchising or licensee model, it kind of blew up internationally at first. So we had a lot of focus in Europe and South America and different areas that, maybe it was just a little easier to establish and get started in those areas. But it kind of blew up that way. And once we kind of got established with, we're over 40-something countries now. So
that's pretty wild.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Once that kind of got established and everything, we kind of got everything back together and kind of refocused everything to kind of hit the North American market, just because, it's a little different. It's there's a lot of different products out there that people can get into. And so it's hard to get us out there to, really be the top one.
I wonder why it blew up so much in outside of the US. You have a theory on that, Brian?
It's like everything else, dude. It's like everything else in this world. It's like United States is last. It's so weird. Like technology, everything. Like you go to Europe.
Technology?
Yeah, United States is last in technology. But I mean, granted, they have some other like Africa and stuff like that. But you have Europe, like Europe's definitely one big one. Japan, like their technology is way more advanced than what we are, right? So I think they're more open, if that makes sense. They're more open to technology.
And I think it just took a little bit of time with the North American market, just because, with what we do, you see videos and you see photos and all this stuff online, but it looks like a bunch of magic. Like okay, you're just showing me a photo of a car and then you paint it and then you show me another photo, which obviously we know isn't the case, but everybody online is like, oh, well, that's not real. That's not actually doing that. And I think that it just kind of has come to a point where there's now starting to be more and more products that are kind of pushing what we've already been doing the past 10 years. And now it's starting to get a little bit more believable for people, and like just an actual like, okay, maybe this stuff is legit and it's actually going to do what they're saying it's going to do.
Right.
Because, when we first started, I mean, I had to go out to the dealerships and sell this product. I was 19 years old. I didn't even know how to use the product. And I'm trying to sell these dealerships on why they need it, So it was a tough couple years to do that. I dealt with a lot of people that, kicked me out and just acted like, oh, we already got a guy that does that. We don't need you. And I was just consistent on making sure that they understand that, no, they don't have somebody that's doing this, because this is not even comparable to a cut and polish. We're doing stuff in 24 hours that somebody can't do even in 3 days with a cut and polish. So that was the biggest thing for me is trying to sell it to the dealerships, especially because there was no background of it and there was no there was nothing to help me in that instance for selling it, just because we were so fresh and we were establishing and trying to figure out how we're going to work this out. And so it was a little tough in that sense, but I got to say some of the places that I went to that they were the biggest, like they just were like, no, we don't need you at all. They're some of our biggest clients now.
Yeah,
and
I found it. I mean, I'm 3 years in now, and there were accounts that I went to a year or two ago, and I've visited. Obviously it's a little hard when they say no immediately and can't get anywhere else. Like I don't visit them as often, but every month or two, I'm like, hey, what's up? I still remember. And then finally they call you on the one car. They're like, this guy says he can do anything, right? And then that's how they turn into those clients. They're like,
right.
Like, oh, okay, they can do it. Sometimes it is a long play on that stuff for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I don't think dealerships understand is like how much work actually goes into doing RestorFX on a car. It's like I was talking to a manager the other day and told him, he's like, what's the process of doing this? You just like wipe this stuff on? And I'm like, no, I told him from start to finish like what we do, and he's like, dude, you're charging X amount of dollars for that? He's like, it's way too cheap. It's from just the aspect of what we're doing to it, right? So it's not just like something that you wipe on, and it's so hard to explain that, because still to this day, I doubt any one of either all of our dealership guys know what we actually do to those cars. They have no clue.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So
you said there's a lot of similar products now, Riley. How many do you think there are out there that are similar? Not actually the same.
Well, I know of at least 3 products that are out there that are kind of claiming to be, what we're doing. I'm sure there's more, but
Yeah.
Those are the three main ones that are actually, pushing enough to make an impact. But
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which to a certain extent, I think it's a good thing for our industry, just because it's going to get the word out there more about paintless clear coat repair. So it's like good, competition is good competition. So as long as
when we were at, MTE's next year, Ryan, you and I at MTE, we interviewed that detailer who called it liquid paint correction, and he was familiar with that, which I don't think you and I had ever heard to that point.
No,
but it does describe it fairly well from a perspective. If you are a paint corrector and you're trying to make it stay in your world,
right?
So they call it liquid paint correction, and he was somewhat familiar with something like that too. So there's other products out there for sure. And I think we talked about in the last podcast or the one before that. What's the company that came out with their version?
Well, they have X-Coat was the first one, I think, right?
No, the one we talked about the other day on the phone.
Rock Clear?
No.
Icon Rock.
Ceramic Pro is. I've never seen anything yet, still, but
supposedly at SEMA, Ceramic Pro announced or showed off a new 2-part liquid paint correction mixed together, turns into clear coat, 8 to 10 microns thick, etc. Like, I heard those words, I was like, that's what? Because a couple people sent it to me and they're like, I think RestorFX partnered with Ceramic Pro, and I'm like, no, they didn't. And they sent me this, and they're like, I'm like, well, RestorFX has always in my mind been the leading edge of technology, like the leading edge of it. So if you're gonna make something that's a 2-part liquid paint correction, like, you're gonna copy what RestorFX said. So they're just saying the same thing, which is maybe it is a similar product, I don't know, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it gives legitimacy to the fact that liquid paint correction is a legitimate option that should be used way more often.
Yep.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's never going to be a industry where there's just never competition. It just doesn't work. It's not going to be the case. But I think RestorFX is so far ahead of the game that it's fine.
PDR guys tried the same thing, right? They used to be in the back of the parking lots with tents around what they were doing.
They competition,
they were like, we want to be the only guys in the world that know how to do this stuff, right?
And look what happened when we all started talking to each other. How far our industry's come, with Kiko getting involved in lateral tension and all the tooling and all the different things versus hiding behind sheets. It's never a bad. It's a bad thing if you're a loser. If you're gonna fail, like, it's a bad thing. But I don't think people listen to podcasts always trying to get better are in that situation. Like, it's a good thing. The more people that find out about it is good. Because I know my Ceramic Pro dealer, locally to me, they didn't know anything about it. He's like, I think I heard about it, but I don't know. We don't even have any demos, but they're busy in their own right. And just like us trying to sell it to them, they're going to have to go in there and say, no, it's not a ceramic coating. It's a separate thing. They're going to have the same, just because Ceramic Pro puts their name on a liquid paint correction doesn't mean that all of a sudden it's going to work for them. They're going to have to be not the Ceramic coating guys, but the RestorFX, or what they call it. I can't remember what they called it. Matrix, I think. The Matrix guys. And they're like, no, we're going to do this. And we're also going to do a ceramic coating. And they're going to be like, well, why? Why don't you just do the ceramic coating? Well, no, but we're going to do this is before it's going to be confusing. It is like, imagine having the conversation like, oh no, we're going to do this coating first and then another coating. And it's twice as much now. And they're going to be like, what? Just do the ceramic. Oh man, I can see it. But anyways, so I think it is important to note that there is competition. There will be more competition, but RestorFX has been always trying to stay on the leading edge of that stuff.
Yep.
Do you agree?
I do.
How are they trying to do that, Riley?
Well, in the last couple of years, I've been a part of the research and development team as well. So we've been
the third job, third
or fourth there. But obviously, I want to always push to. There's no reason with the technology changing and everything that's going on, there's no reason we can't continue to push this product to be more than what it is at what it is now. It's a great product for what it does at this point, but there's no reason we can't push it to be a little bit, more and continue to develop with these products and these new companies that are trying to kind of get in the same market, so we've been slowly developing and working with some of that stuff. Our main focus right now has been with our ceramic coating, just to kind of bump that up and get that to where we want it to be. Our main focus is obviously the RestorFX. That's our main deal. We offer the ceramic coating just to kind of stay on par with everybody in the market. I won't say that the current ceramic that we have now is the best out there, and we don't claim it to be the best. It's just something that we've added so that we can provide and offer that within our services. So we're constantly looking at developing the products and making everything better, and just trying to stay on top of the game, just because there's a lot of stuff out there that's coming out, and we just want to be at the top. So,
well, that's what all the people who have RestorFX centers and owners want to hear and see, is like the product development side. It's like, you don't want to be with a company that's just stagnant. And yes, RestorFX is a great product, and they do have ceramic coating, but at the end of the day, you have to keep progressing. And if I think that's what sets RestorFX apart, along a ton of other things, but constantly moving forward to make it better, for us as the ones who are installing this stuff. That's what makes a difference, So I'm glad to hear that that's still the main goal for RestorFX, right?
Yeah, and I think that focusing on ceramic coating, I think, has been very important for just being able to. RestorFX is a wonderful product, and we use it a massive amount in dealerships. But I've always been like, all the ceramic coatings we've done, we've almost always done RestorFX before that. And so I think the biggest thing that RestorFX can do, and probably what Ceramic Pro is kind of thinking about too, is like, after a one stage correction before ceramic coating, everything else after that should be RestorFX. Like, you just shouldn't be working on a car for 3 or 4 days before you put a coating on it. Or most people won't. Most people, like most actual coating places that I have talked to, and I've talked to a lot of them now because I do dents for them, to be quite honest, and I'm curious, so I ask them. They just tell them, like, those scratches won't come out. They're just like, oh yeah, we can't fix that one. This one will be improved, and then they just ceramic coat over all that shit. They're like, we'll polish it, and then like it's gonna be better, but it's not gonna be gone, Right. Which is pretty fascinating. The fact that like there's massive companies built on just pretty good ceramic coatings.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a massive place for RestorFX, is like just actual paint correction before you coat the car, and how important that is.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I was going to say earlier that I ran the marketing campaign for several months, and all the time people would comment on our before and after videos and stuff about like, yeah, that's just a repaint. I'm like, okay, I'll give you a repaint for $1,200. What I mean, that's like the best compliment you can get. Like, you think it's a repaint. That's the point.
Right.
But it's not. And I can do it in a day.
I think one of the biggest ones that we always get comments on and people talking about is the one that you did when you first got back with that blue 4Runner.
Blue 4Runner, yeah.
I use it all the time.
Yeah, everybody's always asking about that. Every time they come in, they're like, "Oh, well, you guys did this with that one, like you can do that with this too, right?" And it's like, yeah, we can, but there's also so many people on there that are like, "Oh no, that's not even the same car. It's not even, and all this." And it's like, come and see it yourself, and then you can start saying all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Right. And that's the beauty. I mean, if someone does the customer really care how they make your car that shiny? If you're gonna do it for $1,200, like in a legitimate way, I mean, no one's gonna paint a car for that. Obviously, it's like not even materials cost. But it's a good compliment. Yeah, that 4Runner ended up being a pretty unique situation, and it worked out because it's definitely a famous 4Runner at this point, for sure, with the video that was made. But we were so early on that application too. I'm sure we could have even done a better job now. But I think we did end up. That was the first car we actually did a RestorFX and a ceramic coating on. That was the first one. And the guy was just blown away. Yeah, first time we've ever did that. And we do it fairly often now. I mean, every month at least. I would love to do more of them. They're week-long cars. They're worth a lot of money. It's the best repair you could possibly get. I mean, hands down, you can't. I love those. Anybody that's coming in for RestorFX retail on the retail side, I'm offering ceramic coating and trying to do both for sure. And we keep them for a week, and we do stuff in between. Day 1, RestorFX. Day 2, let it sit while we do other cars from the dealership. Day 3, bake it under. Day 4, ceramic coat. Day 5, deliver. That's how we do it, and like everyone's blown away every time. There's nothing better than that. I mean, a full repaint, I guess. Done properly and torn down completely would be, I guess, better.
But it's still not, because you got to take the car apart. Dude, there's so
Yeah,
much that goes
yeah.
into it. Like we're doing this like the
Probably would be
least
better.
invasive way possible, you know.
And it'd be four to 6 times as much too. I mean,
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean,
so
repainting that 400 would be $8,000 easy.
at least, yeah. If done right, where they actually tore everything down and put it all that, like,
Right.
yeah, so much more than that.
No.
For sure.
So Riley, you told us that you were doing everything, right? Everything at the shop, from training. I'm sure you're still doing some prep work. You're set. Like, what does a day look like? What do you do? Everybody wants to hear that.
So, like a normal day for me would be coming in, getting the shop set up for. I have 2 technicians now here at the shop, and just getting cars loaded up in the shop, getting them stacked up for the week, and then obviously jumping in and doing prep work when I need to help out. But every single day I'm still doing applications and just still working in the shop, almost full time, kind of back and forth between the office work and answering the phone and emails and this and that, and then doing also in the shop. But then at the same time now I'm starting to get everybody scheduled in for training, just doing the R&D, also just kind of bouncing around all over the place, but trying to do my best at every single part of it.
So what do you think your ratio? We always talked about, like, when I was there, it was a lot of wholesale stuff that y'all were doing and like transitioning into retail. What do you think your ratio is on wholesale to retail?
So after you took off with your training, and then we started to kind of implement that new marketing program in the Bellingham shop, we kind of did that first year. We noticed a big increase in retail, and we went from probably about like 60, maybe 70% of wholesale all the time, to basically being like almost 50-50 through the summer. I will say in the winter time, obviously around here with our climate and everything, with the rain and all that for 9 months, it definitely slows down a little bit. Through the winter, we get about 3 or 4 months where the retail definitely slows down. But this year has been our biggest year with wholesale throughout the winter, because I think we've established ourselves here in Bellingham after the 10 years that everybody knows what we do now. We are on the road with all the dealerships here, just straight down the road. So they all know what's going on, and they see the benefit in it now, which is really nice, because at this point, there is some dealerships that I don't have to even bother with showing up, walking lots or anything like that. They just end up sending it to us. But yeah, the retail definitely picked up after we started our marketing program and worked through that. And like I said, the summer months when it's real nice outside, everybody is interested in getting their cars, cleaned up and looking good. Wintertime for us, when it's super rainy forever, all cars look shiny in the rain, so it slows down a little bit, but it's definitely still a major improvement from the last few years where we didn't have that marketing program.
Yeah, I've yet to do a massive amount of retail work, unfortunately, and I have some reasons why. I'm not going to get super nitty gritty on that, but I think I know why. But the amount of people that spend money on just standard paint correction is enough reason to know that there is a retail market for this. I mean, there's paint correctors And ceramic coaters, I don't know how many are in Sacramento, in my area, but there's dozens of them, and they are all in business still. So they're all doing something on some kind of car. So I know the retail work is there for sure, but I'm just getting it that's always the trick of business for sure, nailing it down. But the wholesale, it's definitely a phenomenal wholesale product. There's no doubt about it. Like we are the dealerships that love it. I mean, there's literally made for dealerships with the 1 day turnaround and the amount of times someone said shining up a turd which is kind of wild, but that's what they say, or putting lipstick on a pig or whatever acronym they want to use or whatever phrase they want to use. But it's made for that for sure. That's why I think having the ceramic coating product is so important. I mean, someone brings you a ceramic coat, if it's not a brand new car, it probably needs RestorFX. Like if it's not brand new and you could just polish it, like that's RestorFX, and we're the only ones that have that. Like I think we have the possibility to be the best ceramic coaters in the game because we have this as an option. And that's the angle I've tried to play. But yeah, it's a tough one. We're way behind on the ceramic coating side compared to a lot of names. That's the hard part.
It's like we did my personal car the other day. I have a white Tahoe. It's a 21.
Yeah.
And I took it in and I was like, man, I didn't look at it under lights, but outside I was like, we're just gonna have to do a 1-step correction on this thing, polish and put ceramic coating. Well, we pull it in and we did one section on the door with like a 1-step. We're using the Kim Koch products now. And dude, it didn't do anything. Like it shined it up a little bit, but it was still scratched to shit. And then we did a 2-step, and then that didn't work because the scratches were still there because it was still deep. And then we did a rotary on like one small section, got the scratches out, but then you have to do another step to 2 steps after that, so it's 3 stages. I'm like, dude, we're not doing that. So we just pull it in and we RestorFX it, and it was done the next day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's the gold right there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if it's not brand new, just that's what we found.
Here's the problem too, though. Like we did a brand new car the other day, a couple weeks ago. It was a Ford Expedition. We told the customer, they told us, hey, we're picking this car up. We ordered it, and I said, don't tell the dealership not to wash it. We're gonna get in right after that, right? We got this thing in, and it still needed a 2-step correction because it was that scratched up. I was like, dude, this is a brand new car, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, so even some of those, it's like, it's still kind of, we're spending so much time on it. I'm like, we just need to RestorFX these things. So it's like, what do you do at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the way that I kind of work it at my shop is like, we've done a couple of 2025 cars already this year. And it's nothing that's like super major damage or anything, but I look at it, and if it's going to take me more than 3 to 4 hours to go around this car and polish all that stuff out, I'm just going to use RestorFX because it's going to be the same, if not a little less time, and it's also just going to give you a little bit better results. I mean, I can sit there with a polisher on a panel with minor swirls on it and do a 2 or 3 stage, and you can still kind of pick that out a little bit. But then if you put RestorFX on those panels and you pull that thing outside, there's not a single swirl on it. There's nothing going on with it. So it's, a big benefit in that way, where it's like saves you a lot of time, especially with guys that are doing those cut and polishes. Some guys are taking in the car and spending 5 days on it.
Oh yeah.
So wow.
Getting a couple grand out of them, but at the same time, it's like, it just took up a space in your shop for 5 days, where it could be 2 days instead.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I threw you on a tangent on your what your day looks like. I don't remember what point you're at. Get the shop ready. Get the shop ready. Talk us through that. I'm curious too. I always like to compare. So obviously answering the phone, answering emails, getting back to all of our, we have a system on our online store there where you can kind of put in for a request for consultation. So kind of working with those, getting those consultations booked in, dealing with the customers that are coming into the shop and explaining and talking to them what we do and how everything works here. And then
once I get all the cars set up for the day, kind of try to get everything on the backside kind of figured out, and then help the guys out in the shop. Because like I said, I've only got 2 technicians here, and we still do about 4 to 5 cars a day. It's just obviously I gotta jump in there and help them out, because it is still quite a bit of work for 2 guys to do 4 to 5 cars a day. So it's nice to have that extra hand. And unfortunately for them, it seems like I'm kind of slacking because I'll show up
Not
this
doing
time
that for you.
but you know.
But you're training too, right? Or
training too, yeah. So I actually have been, going back and forth. There's been a couple instances in the past few months that I've gone to location to train, rather than people coming here to Bellingham, which it's not a bad thing, but
careful,
I will say that
don't announce that to the Dent guys. But cut that part out. Just kidding.
The Bellingham shop is specifically designed for our training program and literally built out for that. So it's super, super beneficial for guys to come here for training rather than me to go to their location, just because I've found that when I go to location, the first couple days I'm trying to kind of get everything, set up and kind of try to get everything be efficient and this and that. And it's like, I don't think they need me to go there to tell them how to set the shop up. Like, the main goal for you guys when you come in for training for a week is to learn how to put this product on the vehicle, because it kind of depends on where you're coming from. There's some people that come into it with a good background of painting and this and that, so the prep work comes pretty quick to them and they pick that up super quick. So then I have a lot of time to spend on the application, which is the hard part. It looks really easy when you're watching somebody that knows what they're doing, just wiping that stuff on. But there's a lot to it, and you don't really get that until you start trying to put it on the panel, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that didn't work. So then you're trying to do a different movement, and so I just find that when people come to Bellingham specifically, it's way more beneficial for them as far as the week of training that we get.
Well, and having all of the equipment, everything at your disposal that you like, there's no new shop that has that. None. No. I can't imagine. Like, you're talking, like, when we were there, I didn't fully understand at the time, but we saw you strip RestorFX off, put it on, bake it under infrared, all kinds of things that I'm sure shops are just not fully set up to do right off the bat, And so I think if you do push for, I was joking about cutting it out, because I think there's a lot of dent guys like, just come down here and show me how to wipe that shit on real quick and I'll be fine. Like, I would, it can be a pain in the ass to travel up for a week and, potentially shut down your shop or leave it to your employees or whatever. But I think you're better off doing that than having someone come to you. There's no way I would have learned the same thing if you came to my shop. And they're obviously, but you're like give them a list of stuff to buy ahead of time, and they're buying it all, and then you're coming, or what? But still, I don't know. That would seem weird.
So we try to establish everybody to have everything set up before they come here, so that as soon as they leave, they can go back and start pumping out some cars. Because we found throughout the 10 years that I've been here, we found that we've trained some people that weren't set up yet. And then when they got back, it took a month or so, to get everything running and then get a couple cars in the door. And then they kind of lost what they learned throughout that week. So we've kind of pushed getting everything set up before you come here, so that when you get your training after Friday, you can go back on Monday and have a car ready and just start going.
Well, it's like so crucial to come to your the training facility, because you see how it's supposed to be set up.
It's how it's
like if you just go to them and you're trying to tell them like, hey man, this is what we have in Bellingham, you still don't. It's like RestorFX. You don't see it, like you don't understand it till you actually see it. Right. And that's like me going to Bellingham. I kept coming home and I'm like, dude, I need to spend all this money. Like, I want it to look just like that because of like the results. Like everything about that shop was just so phenomenal. that's what I strive for that, right? But if
Yeah.
I'd ever went there, I would have never known what that place looked like, even through the videos and the photos I was sent. You just don't get that picture until you see it. So,
and it's also a good thing to like show everybody, because we got a lot of people like you guys, for instance, that have an established shop. You guys are already doing, different services out of those shops, and to come here and see the Bellingham shop where we're only doing RestorFX and our ceramic. I mean, that's the only thing we offer here, and we keep pretty busy. So, it's good for people to see that you can make this just a one deal thing. Like, obviously it's always beneficial to add more services and this and that, but just to be able to see that you can make it work with just RestorFX, if that's what you're looking for, I think it's a big thing for them.
Yeah, that is important.
And it is also nice seeing a shop run like on a daily basis, because I've been to like the Rupes facility out there in Colorado, and they had to go rent a car from Enterprise to like teach us how to buff on it, right? So then you're thinking to yourself, like, how real is this product in the company itself? I know Rupes is huge, right? I'm just saying, like, in the RestorFX industry, I got to go there and see this thing run, how I want my place to run. And that's another key thing, was it's not just a training facility. It is a shop that runs, just like we have. Same thing, just you don't have multiple services.
Right.
It still blows my mind that y'all can't wash cars. Like, that blew my mind that you can't put water on the ground in Bellingham.
And they still
I mean, it definitely can make it a little bit tough, but to be honest, we've gotten away with it for 10 years and we haven't had no issues. So no reason to get away with it.
I was actually in your neck. I was in Leavenworth last year for Christmas, which is not far from Bellingham. Obviously, it was like 30-40 minutes, I think, from there. It's so unique of a place where you live at, because the cars that y'all are getting at the dealerships may not specifically be from Bellingham. That doesn't really snow, but you go 30 minutes outside of Bellingham, and I was in 2 foot of snow. Those cars are wrecked. Like the Jeep Cherokee that I rented, it was a disaster. So, you're in a very unique place. I love it.
What other things besides, I know you said RestorFX focus on ceramic coating, what other things do you think as far as future RestorFX, anything you're able to talk about as stuff that they're thinking about implementing?
So one of the big things that we're looking at is our paint system. So I know when you guys came in, we had a paint system going on where it was kind of just, make it look close enough.
Mix a bunch of stuff together.
Which, at the end of the day, touch-up is touch-up. I mean, you're never going to make anything look perfect with touch-up. So there's no use in trying. But we have started to develop a new paint system that we're going to be implementing here. And it's a lot easier to use. You plug in the paint code, it tells you exactly what to mix. It's kind of, that type of system. So it works out really well. We've been using it here at the Bellingham shop for probably about 6 or 8 months. And we've really enjoyed it, and it's a really nice system. So that's something that we're going to be probably implementing here in 2025. And then we've also been looking at our numbers line, which I don't know if you guys have messed around with that too much, but that's kind of our detailing line of products there that you can sell over the counter and stuff. We're kind of looking at simplifying that and making a 2-part system where it's like a do-it-yourself line that you can sell to customers, but then a pro line, which is, used for anybody who has the RestorFX certification. So that's a couple of things that we're looking at, moving along this year, and hopefully it'll, do good. I mean, obviously we're always looking at bettering the product, seeing what we can do with the RestorFX itself. But that's a bit more of a process to, finalize and stuff. So
So I don't know how much of a secret it is, but how, like, I think one of the biggest things for us with RestorFX was always the applicator, right? I think we have some great news coming soon for that.
Yeah, that's a big one as well. We've found a couple different applicators that are, adequate, that work really, really well. Obviously, with what we do, we know that the applicators that we currently use are there. I mean, they're doing what we need them to do. But there's always, opportunity to get it a little bit better. So we've been looking at that for a long time. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how many things we've gone through, me and Alex, in the last 8 years trying to find something new to do it. And we just run through an issue where it's like, it's either not putting enough product on, so you're not getting the coverage, or it's just, not applying the right amount, where it's like running and doing all this stuff, and it's really, really hard to work with. So it's trying to find that perfect balance between what somebody can work with and, be comfortable with, and also still get the same results that we're currently getting. So
nice. Well, we're looking forward to something with that. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah. I'm curious to see that. Ryan, do you ever sell any numbers line products to customers?
Man, so I've learned that with the selling ceramic side of things, I'm probably the number one guy in the shop that sells more numbers line stuff, strictly because I physically sit down with the customer when they pick up, and we go over the aftercare sheet, right? And they're like, so what do I do after 14 days? Like, what can I do with it? They'll tell me some products that they have, and the thing for us is, like, I try to turn customers into lifelong customers for us. So they come to us for everything, right? They're already calling us for the dents, the touch up, the RestorFX, the ceramic coating. So at that point, I always offer our services to, like, anything you need, as far as just call us. We'll walk you through it. So at that point, I want them to keep buying our products to get that customer retention, which I've learned that from the Royal program that I never was able to implement, but customer retention, like, really stuck in the back of my brain to figure out how can we keep customers thinking about our company all the time. And that's strictly for advice. And then with that, it was getting them to come back in, because we weren't using the CRM like we should today, or we are today. So our CRM was the customer contacting us for products. So I sell a lot of that to them. I sell a lot of the trim. Like, I can't keep that stuff in stock, just because if I'm working on a dent, I talked about this in a podcast a while ago, but with the Jeep Wranglers, it's like, dude, if you're working on a Jeep Wrangler, whether it's for dents or RestorFX, and you're not selling trim, you're losing money. So
to do in-house or selling the trim product to them.
So what I've started doing,
options. You can buy this for $30, or I'll do it for $300 or whatever.
Well, so what we do is both, right? We'll either sell them the product for a certain price, or we'll sell them the product and we'll apply the first layer while we have it in the shop, because it's so quick. So when they pick it up, they see the product, and I say, look, if you come to pick your car up and you see that you don't see a difference, then I don't want you to buy the product, which is never the case. The stuff works great. But I do tell them, they say, how long is the trim going to last? I say, look, the oils and the plastics are so gone that you're going to have to reapply this at least once a month for probably 3 months. If you want to do it every other week, I would recommend that. But as soon as you get all those oils back into that plastic, the bottle should last them at least a year to 2 years, So with that, sometimes they come in and they buy it for their friends. It's a lot. I sell a lot of that for sure.
Interesting.
I wish RestorFX would come up with, because we've been getting a lot of people talking about tire shine, and I've been doing some research and messing around with some products that are like a lifetime tire shine that lasts like a year to a year and a half, to where you can sell the dog piss out of that stuff. We just need to figure out I could buy it from another company, but I think figuring something out with that would be a great add-on for RestorFX. So tell them you can tell them it was your idea, Riley.
It might be a little too early, but that's definitely something that is included, and we've been looking at in that new
Nice.
kind of numbers
There you
line.
go.
We're kind of changing from numbers line, and we're going to call it maintain. So it's going to be a little simplified. We're not going to have all the products that we have on there. Kind of taking out the interior stuff, just because with RestorFX we don't do a whole lot of interior anything. So
People ask me if I detail all the time, and I said, yeah. Just that, as long as the doors are shut.
Yeah.
So I had a dealership last year, I think, at one point call me up, and they liked the way our tire shine looked, and they asked me to come send one of my guys over there for the day and put tire shine on all their cars. So I'm talking, if you can get a product out there that lasts that long, because by the time they sell the car, whatever the hell they're using, it's like, one, it's just like slimed everywhere.
It's silicone.
I'm like, dude,
it's the worst, dude.
Yeah.
You can sell this stuff to the dealership and have people out there just applying tire shine for a small amount of money. But if you're charging $25 a car and you're doing a shit ton of cars, it adds up.
Well, that's cool. So yeah, I mean, the point of us asking that too, I think, is, for people wanting to sign up or curious about it or whatever, RestorFX they're always improving and changing. And that's just, we talk specifically on the R&D and the product side too. And I think on the business side as well. I mean, having someone that is attending all the trade shows and making a name for themselves, running marketing all over the US and in 40 different countries, all that stuff matters. And it's hard to see that in the moment. Doesn't feel like it affects your business. Like, it doesn't feel like it helps my business tomorrow because you didn't give me a car from Ford, but like, it does help in the long term, like having someone else doing all of that stuff for you. I mean, think about if a lot of the guys running dent businesses or whatever, like you and I, Ryan, don't do anything near that. We don't attend trade shows for our company. We don't, like, the advertising on Dent Pro or Dent Pro USA is very minimal, very localized. But to be a part of a company who supports you on that end as far as R&D, but on the other end of also trying to grow the reputation and the name, is massively important. And the point to where liquid paint correction becomes more popular, and assuming RestorFX has a large to majority market share of that, that's when it will pay dividends. But that's just a 10-year play, not next week.
It's like, I don't know if this is the same thing, but think about if we didn't have tool companies that were innovating new tools every day, and as individual PDR companies, we had to like do it ourselves.
Right,
dude, this industry would be 20 years behind.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it was. The guys were hiding. They were like, I when I was a kid, I made tools with my dad in the garage. There was no, because you couldn't, on internet helped change things, obviously, stuff like that, but there was a couple magazine orders available back in the day. But yeah, I mean, that's not even close. But again, with RestorFX, and on top of that, it really does feel very inexpensive, because sometimes when I see the amount that they're doing, going to SEMA, and they'll be at MTE, and I know that I've seen them do other ones, I'm not exactly sure, stuff overseas or whatever, like, we don't pay a licensing fee outside of the original licensing fee. Like, they make their money off product, so they want you to be successful. And I love aligned incentives. It makes me very happy that they're not like, yeah, it's $2,500 a month, I don't give a shit if you buy RestorFX product. Like, it's aligned incentives. Like, I paid off my license fee however long ago, because I did the 12-month. I don't know if they offer that anymore. Doesn't matter. Pay your original license fee. After that, they don't charge you anymore. Nothing. Like, you order product, and that's where they make their money. And I love that. Yeah. And they want you to order more product, which means you're doing more cars, which means you're growing a business. And I think that's pretty epic, honestly. I don't know if there's a lot of licensees like that, not taking a royalty, not taking a monthly something.
And I don't know if I said that earlier, but RestorFX listens to their centers. Like, I know a lot of people were like, dude, I know that, like, my center probably buys more RestorFX product than Corey's center. So it's like there's different tiers now of, like, what types of discounts we get. So one, it just like makes you strive for doing more production to get a better discount and get the product cheaper to make your margins go up. Like, they listened to us when we talked. We talked about the ceramic coating last year and the at the MTE and that little meet and greet thing we did, and everybody was like, they listened. They took the next year and y'all are where y'all at now. So
Yeah.
that's good that they listen. I love that.
Yeah, I know. With RestorFX, one of the biggest things we try to do is not only just sell the license and get you guys out there doing the cars, but I mean, we continue to offer support. And I don't know, maybe you guys can give me a little bit of feedback on like how you've experienced that with just the support system of what we've done and trying to maintain and make you guys feel like you're backed, so that you're not just like buying this license and then see it, you're on your own, so.
I saw this RestorFX when we started getting into the podcast and selling to a lot of dent guys, obviously, because me and Corey are in the industry. And I'm sure it's like this for everybody else, but it's like selling a car. If you sell that, the salesperson who sells that car, that's who the customer's calling for everything that goes wrong with it. So we did see a lot of that. A lot of our close guys that we're friends with that got into the RestorFX, it was like they were calling us for every single thing that was going wrong. Like 1, business, 2, installing, 3, hiring employees, pay-wise. So I would say like the guys that get on, buy a new center or get into that, it's like they really need to be babied for the first 3 to 4 months, I would say. Yeah. With like needing everything, because that's what I'm not going to say that that's what made a difference, but I think the guys that are successful that are from the dent guy industry that we helped out, I see them doing a lot better than some of the ones that we didn't give that not to say we didn't give that option to, but it was before we came along and did that. So it's like, I think we're working on some of that stuff, Corey. That maybe I don't know when we're going to talk about that, but
right now. Yeah. But also, I would say I've called Riley multiple times, not recently because my guy's pretty good at installing. I've had the same guy for the first 3 years. He's expensive to me now, but whatever. It is what it is. I don't have to worry about RestorFX. And there's the WhatsApp group chats for the managers, and I've called Alex multiple times. I've called Ryan K multiple times. And it's not, I don't have any special access because I like host the podcast. It has nothing to do with that. Like you just like, they're available. That's the point. Right. They're available. And Riley, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but I talked to Ryan Brewer, and I talked to Ryan K and Alex, and I think Elena, I can't remember. Alejandro as well. But anyways, starting in January, we're going to do basically a kind of a trial run for a different type of audio video format. So instead of just doing the podcast, which Ryan and I have done for almost 3 years now, 2.5 years now, monthly podcasts. So we've done, 30 to 40 podcasts. It's very one way. It's just the way the podcasts are. Like we're preaching or teaching to you, and then you can listen and take notes and do as we say. But there's so much more feedback that we want to get. We've tried to go to the Facebook group, but one, it's us not being active in the Facebook group. And 2, I've seen podcasts and Facebook groups try to be connected. Super difficult. It's just a difficult web to create. So what we're going to do in January, it'll be announced in RestorFX letter. We're going to announce it now. We'll put it on Instagram, Facebook, and however else we can find it in the WhatsApp channels and stuff. We're going to basically do a live on a format like this, where there will be people who have volunteered to come up in what we call a hot seat to discuss what's going on with their business, and then we will have a discussion about it while other people listen. So similar to this, but there will be a way to comment. There will be a way to ask questions. There'll be a way for people to come on, and if we have success with it, if people say, I would like to be the one that talks to, Ryan and or other people that are up at the, this on the stage, they can come up and do that. And so I have the date on that. Do you want to add something to it, Ryan, while I pull up the date? I wasn't prepared there, but I got it here.
So for us, it's kind of like we go to MTE every year, or I haven't been making it to SEMA or the other events, but that's when we get the most out of being able to talk to people in a group setting. Like people are hitting us from all different directions, and I can see them getting everything out of it more than what they do tell us how much they get out of the podcast. We enjoy that, but we want to be able to give back a little more in like live time, where it's like, let us know what's going on in your business that you need help with. and or the stuff that you're doing well. That way these other guys can take that stuff over and implement it in their business. You know, that was the biggest thing for us, is like getting RestorFX to be more streamlined from starting from ground up, you know, and being successful. It's going to be good.
Were you aware of this, Riley?
I was not.
Perfect.
But yeah,
You're
I
aware.
mean,
That's awesome. Yeah,
this should help.
really
This
cool.
should help you out a lot, you know. With the phone calls.
Yeah, I hope it does. And if you want to, if you're able to attend, that'd be great. But it's going to be January 14th, 2025. Obviously, January 14th, 4 p.m. Pacific time to 5:30 p.m. roughly. I don't know how long it's going to last. I might just end it hard stop at 5:30. I don't know. We'll see how it's going. It's a demo run, but basically it's more of a live mastermind group. Not if we end up having, you know, 30, 40 something people join, not everyone's going to get to talk. Obviously, the goal is to have, I would say, 30 to 40 plus people. We have a few people volunteer that come on the hot seat. They say, hey, you know, here's the problem I'm dealing with. Let's work through it. Let's talk about it. The people can listen. There is a comment section, so we will do our best to be involved with that. But instead of doing like a live podcast format, we're going to do it more of like this mastermind type of group. So again, January 14th, 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. That means it's 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And then do the rest of your math for all the other people throughout the 40 countries of the world. I don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, shoot me an invite. I do have some training that week, but if I can make it, I would be happy
for
to,
sure.
so.
Yeah, even to part of it. So yeah, that's kind of a new format. We may end up doing both. We may end up using that live form to create the narrative of what the podcast should be about. Instead of just us guessing, essentially. Like, I think we have a thumb on the pulse, but sometimes we may be off on that. So using that to say, okay, here's what the topics of the podcast. So there may be a live and you know, just an audio version of the podcast, but we're not exactly sure yet. So again, always trying to look and change, and looking at 2025. Ryan and I discussed, you know, having that as the main format. So yeah, January 14th, 4 p.m. Pacific.
All right.
Perfect. That was a good ending.
Yeah. Thank you, Riley. I appreciate you and all you do for RestorFX and all the guys coming after us and us. And
Of course.
Yeah, I hope it's fun for you to see all the students that you've training other people and grow in their companies, and you've had a big part in that, no doubt about it.
No, we appreciate it, buddy.
Well, thank you guys.
You're welcome, Riley. We'll talk soon.
All right. Have a good night.
All right. See you live January 14th.
All right.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Masters of Recon podcast. If you're getting value from this podcast, then please subscribe to the show and give us a review so others can find our show as well. And if you haven't joined the discussion yet, then go find us over at Masters of Recon Facebook group to join the weekly discussion. See you all next time.